scale up. We do this by offering accounting services, HR services. For you to be a part of our business, we have 5 processes that we take you through. Number 1, we will have you sign an NDA, that's a non-disclosure agreement, where we're telling you that your information with us is confidential. And then we bring one of our representatives into your company. They do a pre-audit for 2 to 3 hours. And then in 48 hours, we present you a pre-audit report. Now, this report is going to have findings and our recommendations based on what we have seen in your business. And then we come on board by implementing, supervising, and monitoring the systems we have put in place. However, depending on the client's need, we make sure that we tailor-make our services to suit what the client is looking for. We also run very free workshops for anybody that needs help. And we've also created the opportunity where the first interaction between we and the client is free. Clay helps startups and SMEs scale up. We do this by offering accounting services, HR services. For you to be a part of our business, we have Clay helps startups and SMEs scale up. We do this by offering accounting services, HR services. For you to be a part of our business, we have 5 processes that we take you through. Number 1, we will have you sign an NDA, that's a non-disclosure agreement, where we're telling you that your information with us is confidential. And then we bring one of our representatives into your company. They do a pre-audit for 2 to 3 hours. And then in 48 hours, we present you a pre-audit report. Now, this report is going to have findings and our recommendations based on what we have seen in your business. And then we come on board by implementing, supervising, and monitoring the systems we have put in place. However, depending on the client's need, we make sure that we tailor-make our services to suit what the client is looking for. We also run very free workshops for anybody that needs help. And we've also created the opportunity where the first interaction between we and the client is free. Clay helps startups and
Nana Boafo from Cap Global. We met Clay in the year 2017. I think it was around the time Clay had just started out. We had been in business for about 4 years already, but we didn't have any processes, we didn't have any proper systems. Clay helped us to put that together. So I would say that the foundation we have today and what has enabled us to grow and build on is what Clay helped us to build. They did a lot for us, also helping with human resource, that's finding, recruiting, and then development and growth generally. So we are super grateful to Clay and wishing them a happy 5 years.
Hello, my name is Ruth Botra Osei, founder and CEO of Hopeful and Common Mental Health Organization. We reached out to Kukwa of Clay Group. She gently took us through the process of registration, cash management, inventory management, auditing, in order for us to know everything that we needed to set this up. They were dedicated, they were honest, they were direct, and they were professional. You should think of them like the Robin to your Batman if you're into movie references. Just like the art of pottery, molding of clay takes patience and skill. These are things that we witnessed firsthand when we worked with clay. So for anybody in Ghana or overseas who's thinking of setting up a business, I would hugely recommend that you reach out to Clay. I trust that they will be able to deliver the best service. Thank you.
My name is Leonard Anan. I served as a project consultant for the MasterCard Scholars Enterprise Fund. One of the main organizations we consulted was Clay Consults, which helped us to run this program effectively. Some of the skills they taught our students was human resource skills, how to run payrolls, how to do recruitment, how to do interviews. They also helped us in tax policies, being able to get the students to be compliant with the tax information, the tax laws in Ghana. We also realized that they help the students to learn how to effectively do bookkeeping, how to track the expenses, to be able to make profits. And we were very grateful for Clay being able to effectively communicate and manage these students. Some were students, some were graduates during this 1 year period. I don't think we could have had a much better organization than Clay Consults to run this project. I think they did a very excellent job, and we look forward to do a lot more projects with them.
Kofi, I'm the CEO and Managing Director of Doma. Clay Consults, I met the CEO Kukwa when Domana started. I think we're barely a year old when I got a call from a friend, and then she explained what Clay Consults could do for me, and that's how we began the relationship. We met at, I think, Peter Pan, and then she started explaining that, so Clay, we will file your records for you, we'll straighten your business, we will put the processes in place, we will make sure that you know what you are doing, how much you are earning, how much you are spending, you don't overspend, you don't underpay. She explained everything, and I'm like, wow, I wasn't doing all that. So in a nutshell, in the past 5 years, that's what Clay has been able to help me to do. Our business is much more established now. The processes are more streamlined. Clay helped us to register for taxes, for our SNIT, and Clay put us on the right track, in good standing with our books. The advice from Clay, I don't think I'll ever forget. They've helped us so much in the business, and I'll say that no matter where Doman gets to, the foundation of accounting was laid by Clay, and I'm grateful for that.
Hello, my name is Roberta Annan. I'm the founder and managing partner for Annan Capital Partners. I'm really excited to be given this platform to share our experience with Clay Consult. In fact, we worked with them for 5 years since they started, and we were one of the very first clients, and we've seen how the company has evolved. They're super professional and have a high integrity, because of course they're dealing with company accounts. They have integrity, professional team, very young, dynamic team. They've really supported us in management of our payroll, in our internal audit situations and our external audit situations, and it's been a joy working with them.
Hi, my name is Francis Kofi. I'm the CEO and Managing Director of Doma. Clay Consults, I met the CEO Kukwa when Domana started. I think we're barely a year old when I got a call from a friend, and then she explained what Clay Consults could do for me, and that's how we began the relationship. We met at, I think, Peter Pan, and then she started explaining that, so Clay, we will file your records for you, we'll straighten your business, we will put the processes in place, we will make sure that you know what you are doing, how much you are earning, how much you are spending, you don't overspend, you don't underpay. She explained everything, and I'm like, wow, I wasn't doing all that. So in a nutshell, in the past 5 years, that's what Clay did.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So before we start, everyone to mute their microphones, just so that we can be able to avoid, some feedback. And so let's just have our microphones muted. Okay. So hello again. My name is Kukwa Adams, and welcome to the maiden edition of the Clay Business Clinic. I'll be your host for today's webinar, and we're trusting that we're going to have so for those of us that don't know what the Clay Business is about, this is an initiative by Clay Group that is targeted at providing startups and SMEs with information and tools that they need so that they can be able to scale up their businesses. By scaling up, what do I mean? I mean, we're looking at businesses that can run a more sustainable business, a profitable one, and of course, impact their communities in their own little way. Now, before we continue, let's read that, and then we'll be back to continue. Clay helps startups and SMEs scale up. We do this by offering accounting services, HR services. For you to be a part of our business, we have 5 processes that we take you through. Number 1, we will have you sign an NDA, that's a non-disclosure agreement, where we're telling you that your information with us is confidential. And then we bring one of our representatives into your company. They do a pre-audit for 2 to 3 hours. And then in 48 hours, we present you a pre-audit report. Now, this report is going to have findings and our recommendations based on what we have seen in your business. And then we come on board by implementing, supervising, and monitoring the systems we have put in place. However, depending on the client's need, we make sure that we tailor-make our services to suit what the client is looking for. We also run very free workshops for anybody that needs help. And we've also created the opportunity where the first interaction between we and the client is free. Clay helps startups and SMEs scale up. We do this by offering accounting services, HR services. For you to be a part of our business, we have 5 processes that we take you through. Number 1, we will have you sign an NDA, that's a non-disclosure agreement, where we're telling you that your information with us is confidential. And then we bring one of our representatives into your company. They do a pre-audit for 2 to 3 hours. And then in 48 hours, we present you a pre-audit report. Now, this report is going to have starting. For those of us that also join in or looking to join YouTube at the Clay Group, as we're streaming live on there. To introduction of our panelists. So for today's webinar, we have experts coming from some regulatory bodies that will be sharing with us some information we need to be able to scale up our businesses. Our very first panelist is Brigadier Latte. We like to call her Miss Na at Clay. Brigadier is the compliance officer at the Clay at SNCC, Security National Insurance Trust at Poly Group, where she oversees internal and external regulations, policies, and ultimately contributes to the company's progress. She has a background in compliance, program planning, development, and implementation. Her experience as a compliance officer has broadened her understanding of corporate standard operating procedures and improved her objectivity when implementing compliance. So joining us this morning, some information on, hello Ms. Na, and welcome to the Clay Business Clinic. Our second panelist for this morning is Evelyn Bynum. Yes. Thank you too. So moving on to our second panelist. That manages pension funds. She's in charge of overseeing the implementation of business development strategies in order to increase the company's profitability. She has made significant contributions is our very own Mr. Victor Kogo, who is the head of compliance at the Office of the Deputy Commissioner Operations 1 Secretariat at the Ghana in his field. This morning, Mr. Akobo will be sharing and educating us on the types of taxes business owners and startups need to know, rights and obligations of taxpayers, the tax types we have in Ghana, and how to do our filing of taxes. So before our can settle in, and then we can start.
Hi, my name is Francis Kofi. I'm the CEO and Managing Director of Clay Consult. I met the CEO Kukwa when Domina started. I think we're barely a year old when I got a call from a friend. Then she explained what Clay Consult could do for me, and that's how we began the relationship. We met at, I think, Peter Pan, and then she started explaining that, so Clay, will file your records for you, we'll straighten your business, we'll put the processes in place, we will make sure that you know what you are doing, how much you are earning, how much you are spending. You don't overspend, and you don't pay. She explained everything, so it's helping to do. Clay helped us to register for taxes for our mates, and Clay put us on the right track in good standing with our books. I advise from Clay, I don't think I'll ever forget. They've helped us so much in the business, and I'll say that no matter where Domon gets to. Hi, my name is Francis Kofi. I'm the CEO and Managing Director of Doma. Clay Consult, I met the CEO Kukwa when Domana started. I think we're barely a year old when I got a call from a friend, and then she explained what Clay Consult could do for me, and that's how we began the relationship. We met at, I think, Peter Pan, and then she started explaining that, so Clay, will file your records for you, we'll straighten your business, we will put the processes in place, we will make sure that you know what you are doing, how much you are earning, how much you are spending, you don't overspend, you don't underpay. She explained everything, and I'm like, wow, I wasn't doing all that. So in a nutshell, in the past 5 years, that's what Clay has been able to help me to do. Our business is much more established now. The processes are more streamlined. Clay helped us to register for taxes for our SMIT, and Clay put us on the right track in good standing with our books. The advice from Clay, I don't think I'll ever forget. They've helped us so much in the business.
So we're going straight into it. We're going to start with Miss Brigadier to understand or just to have a conversation around SNP. So Miss Na, if you're on, let's get rolling.
Hello, thank you so much, Kukwa. Good morning, everybody. And you're all welcome to the
Morning.
So I'm from and I'm at the group branch of SNIT. So a bit of social security. So Social Security and National Insurance Trust is the only body or institution that has been mandated by law to receive and manage the social security of the Ghanaian worker or for workers in Ghana. And we do that by getting employers who have businesses to register with their companies with SNIT and register their workers and to remit 13.5% the workers' basic salaries. Kukwa, do you have any questions on what exactly? Hello, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so before we even get into the, the technicality, we just want to ask, so for employers, when it comes to SNIT, how important is it for an employer?
Okay, so basically, it is very important. Apart from its importance, it is actually mandated by law that employer general's department set of with SNIT by your workers and ensure you pay SNIT on their behalf. So for the important, it's an opportunity on the opportunity to do business with government agencies. Hello.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we lost you a bit. If you can repeat that, we want to be able to understand. Yes, we can now. What it means to be an employer.
Okay. All right.
When you engage, yes, with SNIT.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard the first part. I was talking about the legal aspect of it. Prior to registering with SNIT, it is basically mandated by law, so you don't have a choice. The law indicates that once you register with Registrar General and start operations, register with SNIT. That is if you have workers. You register your business with SNIT.
Okay.
So you register your business with SNIT, and then you register your workers and start paying contributions. And what's the employer?
So before you continue.
Yes.
Hello.
I'm listening. So I was saying that what the employer seeks to gain from this is that once you register with SNIT, it accords you the opportunity to do business with government agencies, NGOs in both the public and the private sector. The diplomatic corps, I mean the what do you call it, the embassies and all those places. If you need visas, you are able to access when they request for clearance certificate, you are able to access it as SNIT, and it gives you a better opportunity to get your visa when you present the certificate to the embassies. So basically, employers do have an advantage.
So if I got you right, it means that once you register your business at the Registrar General's department, you must go ahead and then register with SNIT. Is that what the law says?
Yes, 30 days of registering at Registrar General and starting operations. Once you start operations, within 30 days, you're supposed to register with SNIT.
So what if you register your business and you do not start operations?
If you're not operating, then of course, yes. Of course, you're not doing business. Social Security is paid on the income of your workers.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that our audience also understands this. So assuming that we've registered a business, because we have a lot of business owners on this platform. So we registered a business. However, we haven't made any we haven't made any income in about the first year or two. Is there a process where we can share with, let's say, SNIT, saying that yes, we have registered our business, but we haven't started operations to allow us to start paying SNIT. Maybe we don't even have employees, a one-man business.
Yes. When you register with Registrar General and you are not operating the business, then there's no need to register with SNIT. When you register the business and you don't have any employees, but you are working with the business as the CEO, you are the only person, the employer and the employee. Once you are receiving salaries, it is advised that you register with SNIT.
Okay, so I think this will take us to the next question where I want to ask. So assuming that you have employees, but you're unable to pay them as much, is it advisable? I want to understand what's the best way to still be able to pay SNIT, even if you have employees, but you're not making as much as you are expecting to.
Okay, so what happens is you have employees, you pay them at the end of the month, as little as it is. If it is below with a minimum that you can pay an employee, and it is expected that no employer will pay their workers below that amount. Currently, the national minimum
Okay.
365 Ghana cedis. So what we do is, if you have employees and you are even paying them below the national minimum wage, we advise that you register them and pay Social Security on the national minimum wage on their behalf. Hello.
And if your employees are being paid below the national minimum, hello, can you hear us?
Did you get me?
Hello. Yes, I did.
Hello,
so
yes.
I just want to reiterate. Yeah, I want to reiterate. Sorry, I want to reiterate what you mentioned. That's
Breaking.
necessary. The national have employer. I'll take that again. Hello,
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I was asking that, assuming that you have hired people and you're still unable to pay them above the national minimum wage, do you still pay their statutory payments on the national minimum wage regardless?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So far as you have workers and you pay them a salary at the end of the month, even if it is below the national minimum wage, you're supposed to pay the SNITs on the national minimum wage for them on their behalf. Yes. And there is employees, start workers. So basically, social security employees, the daily wage earners, they are all workers. So far you remit the person for the services they provide to you. If it's at the end of the day, at the end of the week, are still supported and those to you are mandated by law.
Just so that we have a better understanding, if I've engaged someone for, let's say, a period of 3 to 4 months, you don't think that individual to paying their statutory payments?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Can you repeat that again?
Okay, so I was asking that because of the type of businesses we all run, sometimes we are unable to engage people for a period of 6 months. So let's say we have a contract staff for 3 or 4 months. Do you still need to pay their statutory payments? Do you still need to pay SNIT for them?
Yes, please. Yes, Kukwa. So long as you have the person working with you, and like I said, you remit the person. So when the person is there, the person is working, the person is receiving payments for his or her services. Yes, you pay SNIT on their behalf. Once the person leaves, then you stop paying. If the person is not there, of course, you don't need to pay for the person. But if the person is working and receiving salary for their services, yes, you are supposed to pay for the period that he or she is working with you.
Okay. Is it mandatory to pay statutory, let's say the contract staff, is it mandatory to pay SNIT on their net salary, or we can use their the national minimum wage? Is that allowed?
Like I was
because
saying,
we don't
SNIT
intend on keeping the person for long. Yeah.
Yes. SNIT is not calculated on the net salary. Please take note. SNIT is only calculated on the basic salary. The basic salary of employees, yes. So if the person's basic salary is more than the national minimum wage or on the national minimum wage, of course, you pay what basic the person earns. However, if the person receives lower than the national minimum wage, in any case, you paying below the national minimum wage means you are even doing the person a disfavor, because you are supposed to pay not less than the national minimum wage. So if you are giving somebody below it, then of course you should pay Social Security on the minimum wage.
Okay. Can individuals pay SNIT, assuming well, you're maybe out of work or your business hasn't kick-started, but you still want to be able to contribute?
Yes. That is, like you said, if your business hasn't kick-started. That as my first point of answer. So if you have a business and it hasn't kick-started, but you still want to pay SNIT, of course you can the business, you can still register your business, so you and be paying SNIT on your behalf. You will have to declare a basic amount that is comfortable for you, so that you can continue with the payments. That is if your business hasn't started, like you said. However, if you have a business that is not registered, for example, you are an artisan, yes, and you don't have any formal documentation for your business, so you can do voluntary contribution. It is allowed. You be a voluntary contributor. So basically, you still be paying. You have to declare a basic salary for yourself. That is what you are intend to receive every month as a salary, and then you can pay Social Security on it as a voluntary contributor. So yes, it is allowed. I noticed somebody put up a question that are NGOs also mandated to pay SNIT, and my answer to that is yes. So far as the NGO is registered and you have workers that are working there, you pay them for their services, you are supposed to register the workers and pay their SNIT every month, yes.
What if this NGO has registered, but they don't have workers at the moment? Let's say they are yet to, but they don't have workers at the moment. Do they wait until they have workers, or they go ahead and then they start paying the sale? Because obviously there'll be directors in the NGO.
Oh, well, you see, the thing with Social Security is that we don't usually chase the directors to pay their SNETs. For them, it is a matter of choice, yes, but it is advisable that they register and they pay contributions for themselves, because we don't know what may happen. You may think that you have enough investments and you can fall on it in future, but you don't know what may happen. So we advise that even directors, they register and pay SNET on their behalf, because what better investment can you get now than Social Security? When you don't have any income, or you sit there, you don't have any income, what better monthly investment to replace your salary?
Okay. So,
and it is paid till you die.
yes. So for those of us who have just joined in and our existing audience, please do well to send your questions in. You can type into the chat box, or you can also send your questions in, because we'll have a Q&A session with our panelists even before we go. So, Ms. Na, before we leave you, we have one last question for you, and then we'll move on to our next panelist. How does a business register for SNET? That's our last question.
Okay, so it's quite simple. So once a business registers at the Registrar General Department, we advise that with the business registration documents, an employer visits any SNET branch, one that is closest to him or her, and with the Registrar General's documents, with his or her ID, and with the names, if he has workers, with the names, the social security numbers, and the basic salary of the workers. Basically, you can come with a payroll. That is advisable. In the case that the workers don't have social security numbers, the director can bring the workers along so that we get them registered. We, however, also go further to meet our employers halfway, because there are some that they cannot release their workers to visit the branches, and they are closing time to register. So when that happens, we meet them halfway. We take our machines to their offices and register the workers there.
Okay.
Yes.
I hope this is free, just so that we are sure that it doesn't come at a cost.
Yes, Social Security registration is free. You don't pay a peswa.
Okay.
You don't charge anything for SNET registration at all. Even both the business registration and the employee registration as well. We don't charge anything.
Registration, okay. Yes. Thank you very much, Ms. Na. So we'll come back to you. We'll move on quickly to Evelyn of Petra. Yes. So Evelyn of Petra Trust has joined us in, and we'll be engaging her quickly on Tier 2, which is also another aspect of benefits where we all do not understand. So Evelyn, good morning.
Hello, Kukwa. Good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Hi, Evelyn. Good morning. Yes, we can hear you. So we'll go right into it. Okay. What does Petra Trust do? We don't know who Petra Trust is. We want to know about Petra Trust.
Okay, that's fine. First of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Na for that insightful submission. I think she has answered most of my questions, because we actually work hand in hand when it comes to the SNET contributions, which is the Tier 1 and the Tier 2. Most of the activities are basically the same. So Petra is a private corporate trustee licensed by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. And what we do is we offer trustee services to individuals, and so we basically manage the Tier 2 and Tier 3 pension schemes for individuals and companies in Ghana. And we're actually the first trustee to be licensed to operate in Ghana when the new 3-tier pension structure was introduced. So that is Petra for you.
Okay. So so can you please share with us what is the difference between Petra and SNIT if we're still paying the same contributions?
Okay. All right, that's fine. Would you allow me to share my screen? I'd like to project something for a better understanding. Is that fine?
Yes, please. So that we can all appreciate. Yes, please go ahead.
Sure.
So while we wait for Evelyn to share her screen, if you still have questions, please do well to share in our chat box. We are putting all the questions together so that right after our conversation with our panelists, we can move into a Q&A session so that we can be able to have a better understanding and have all our questions answered. Thank you, Evelyn. We're ready for you.
This is my screen visible. Done in 2008, and with that we have the which Ms. Na has already spoken, and we have tier 3 as well. Hello, Kukwa. In my screen, I wouldn't be able to read the comments in the chat box. So if there are any questions, please alert me so I answer. Okay. All right. Okay. So the tier 2 is basically a mandatory that employers.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. Right. So as I was saying, the tier 2 is a mandatory contribution that employers are required. Tier 3 is a voluntary contribution that individuals can contribute into, employers can contribute into, or both employers and employees can make contributions into the scheme. Now, when it comes to both tier 2 and tier 3, they are contributions before tax, or they are tax advantage contributions. Basically, what a tax advantage is it's a contribution is applied. So Kukwa asked a question about when it comes before, so it's how the this is you are mandated to pay, and this serves as a coin the individual basically. Whereas salary decides to give to make a 5, making a total of, and now out of the 18.5%, 13.5 sorry, goes to SNET as your tier 1 contribution, whereas 5% goes to a private trustee like Petra as your tier 2 contribution. Kukwa, I hope this is clear.
Okay, yes, this is clear. Well, we have some questions coming in, so I'm sure we'll come back to you. Okay, so I know you mentioned tier 3 in your submission. What is the, or first of all, we want to know what goes into the tier 2, because from our understanding, we know that it is treated as some sort of investment. So for the purposes of this, session, if you can clarify this so that our audience can also appreciate and then move on to paying tier 2 as well for those who aren't already contributing.
Okay, that's fine. So when Ms. Now was submitting, she mentioned that once you register your business, you are mandated to make the SNET contributions. If you register your business and you have workers working under the business, you are mandated to make your SNET contributions. And once you are making SNIT contributions, you are also mandated to make your tier 2 contribution, because these
so that's
contributions
also
come together.
mandatory.
Yes. So tier 2 is also mandatory, it's a mandatory contribution. And so whilst you are paying the 13.5 to SNIT, you are paying 5% into your tier 2 account as well. Because by law, you are mandated to make 18.5% contribution towards your pension or towards your retirement.
Okay, so before I even continue, what happens if you are not making the contributions? You have employees and you're not making these contributions.
Okay, yes. Because this is, you are mandated by law to do this. If your workers report you to the regulator, so when it comes to SNIT and Tier 2, we are both being regulated by National Pensions Regulatory Authority. And so if workers are to report you to the regulator, that is NPRA, NPRA will sanction you. There's a fine that you have to pay if you are not making the tier 2 contribution for your employees or for your workers. And I think that is the 3%. The fee charge is about 3%. But then it depends on their discretion. They are able to tell you how much you're supposed to pay. And you have to pay it within, because if you were contributing the tier 2 to the trustee, the individual would have accrued. But because you weren't making that pay, the regulator would default so that you make the contribution to the trustee. Hello, Tukwa, can you hear me?
Yes, so we lost you for a bit. If you can repeat that.
Okay, so I was saying that once your employees report you to the regulator that you are not making the tier 2 contributions for them, the regulator can sanction you. They can sanction you and make you pay all the contributions that you didn't pay for the workers for the period that you defaulted, plus a return or interest on that particular contribution.
Wow.
Yes. So
I see.
there's something like that. And so as workers or as employees, you are also mandated, or you have to take it upon yourself to find out from your employers where they are remitting your tier 2 contributions to.
Okay, so because this is because we have more business owners on the session, we want to understand what it means, what's the process in let's say signing on employees, even if it's one, on the tier 2.
Okay, so signing on is quite simple with Petra. Because you have to require of your business registration number as well. And so you give us basic information as the number of contributors, number of employees that you want to make the tier 2 payment for. And then we also furnish you with a form from the regulator, that is NPRA. It's basically collates the same information as what you'll be putting on the application form, our application form. And then an Excel sheet as well, even as the details of the employees that you are making the payment for. So if you want to enroll onto Petra tier 2 scheme, our application form, a form from the regulator, and then an Excel sheet giving us the details of the employees that you want to contribute for. So that's quite simple. Once we receive these documents, we process it, and then we introduce you to the scheme within 24 hours.
Okay. So before we even wrap up with you, we'll come back to you because we have some questions from our participants. We want to understand, we know there are some misconceptions about paying of, let's say, our social security benefits, where we know that there's a challenge when it comes to going to even, let's say, take your funds back, especially for, let's say, workers. And because we have a lot of employers here, this session is such that we all want to be able to do the right thing moving forward, especially for those who aren't. But we want to understand, do you get these monies back? These monies that we're paying every month, do we get them back? especially for
as
our
an employer
or for employees? Let me say it like that.
Okay. So for tier 2, once payment is made, it's vested in the name of the individual.
Okay.
It's actually a contribution that the individual is making towards their pension or retirement. And so once you make payments into the scheme, the employer does not have any control over the contribution. It belongs to the individual.
Okay.
So it's the individual that can have access to this contribution, not the employer.
Are there benefits for employers, or it's because it's mandated by law, but we also want to understand our role here as business owners?
Yes. I think Ms. Na answered that question for me.
We want to hear from you again.
Okay, that's fine. So yes, when you sign on to the tier 2 as well, just as NIT, you get a certificate, a membership certificate. And so you are able to partner with businesses when it comes to private institutions. You can also, I think Ms. Na mentioned, she talked about you being able to go to the embassy and have a visa application
like
with
a
your
clearance,
certificate, a clearance, yes. Once you've been cleared that you're making your tier 2 contributions for your employees, and so you have a certificate as well showing that you are complying with the law. You're actually paying your SNET contributions and your tier 2 contributions for the staff. So there are benefits to it as well for the employers. And then again, because you are mandated to, at least your integrity is safe, because you are doing the right thing, what the law says.
Yeah.
And so that also works in that aspect.
Okay, thank you very much, Evelyn. We'll come back to you. So before we engage Mr. Victor Akog of GRA, we're going to take a short break and then we'll be right back. Please stay tuned. Okay, so welcome back, and we have our last gentleman for this session, Mr. Victor Akogo of Ghana Revenue Authority, who is joining us now, so we can also have our, interactive session with him. We've seen a lot of questions coming in from our audience, and we'll definitely go into answering these questions once we're done. Hello, Mr. Akogo. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I extend greetings to your cherished listeners. And it's a privilege coming on your show to explain taxation to your. I'm grateful for being part of this program. Thank you.
Well, thank you too for making the to share with us. So just so that we don't waste so much time, we'll go right into it. So we all know, we've heard of the Ghana Revenue Authority. We don't want to assume that we know what Ghana Revenue Authority does. So what does Ghana Revenue Authority do, especially for business owners who are in the SME industry like us?
Okay, thank you very much. By an act of parliament, GRA Act 2009, Act 791. It is the institution mandated by law to mobilize revenue for national development. And it has its vision of becoming a world-class revenue mobilization institution recognized for professionalism, integrity, and excellence. GRA looks forward to seeing three sources of income earners: income from employment, income from business, and income from investment. So these three sources are the sources through which people earn income. And anywhere income is earned, GRA goes in to demand the fair tax that needs to be paid. And we know that taxes are the price we pay for living in a civilized society. And tax of law, and it behoves on everyone to be able to contribute towards the payment of taxes. Anyone who doesn't pay taxes is an enemy to the state, because society existed because people have paid for it, and it behoves on us now to contribute towards the payment of taxes. It is through taxes that we can achieve the destination we want to go.
Okay, thank you very much for this. So we noted that you mentioned there are three sources of income when it comes to payment of the taxes, if I'm right.
Correct.
But what we have noted down is income from businesses, and we want to understand what is mandated or what we need to do as business owners when it comes to, or what we need to understand when it comes to income from businesses, or let's say whatever taxes we have to pay as businesses to GRA.
Okay, thank you very much. When it comes to business, we are looking at people who involve in trade, the buying and selling or provision of services. Anybody who does business does it with the intention of making profit. So GRA expects every business owner for the supply of goods or provider of services to register with the Ghana Revenue Authority, because no business shall exist without being registered with the Ghana Revenue Authority. So first, every business owner must register with Ghana Revenue Authority after he has registered with the Registrar General's Department.
Okay, so Mr. Kogo, with the registration, we've seen a lot of GRA offices across Ghana. We see STO, we see MTO, we see LTO. We want to understand what these mean and which particular GRA should businesses in the SME industry go to register.
Okay, thank you very much. We used to have the STOs, MTO, and the LTO, as you have mentioned earlier. But currently, we did a restructuring, and we now have operations office. Better still, we have the taxpayer service centers. So here we are saying that anybody who is undertaking a business must identify a tax paying service center closer to him or her to go and register for the various taxes that it needs to register. The various taxes may include a corporate income tax, a personal income tax, a pay as you earn, or a withholding tax or value-added tax. These are the taxes that we expect you to go closer to the various TSCs, taxpayer service centers, to register. We don't have the MTOs and the STOs again, but we have only one LTO and 57 TSCs across the country. Thank you.
Okay. So, Mr. Fogo, you mentioned CIT, PIT, PAYE, withhold. Can you please explain to us what these acronyms are for the purposes of the session and in our audience?
Okay. Thank you very much. When we talk about PAYE, we are saying that when a business is established as a limited liability company, the managing director cannot work alone. And for that matter, he engages some employees to assist him in doing the business. Those employees that are engaged, when they are being paid, the managing director or the company is expected to withhold taxes at the appropriate rate and pay same to the Commissioner General within 15 days after the deduction has been made. When we come to withholding taxes, we say that every entity that is established is a withholding agent. So when there is a supply of goods and services to a third party, the law enjoins that withholding agent to withhold 3% from the payment that he makes to third party and 7.5% from the withholding for supply of services. When it comes to VAT, we say that valued added tax, anybody who consumes certain category of goods and services produced within the country is expected to pay VAT on the goods. And VAT is valued added tax. It is a consumption tax. And it is expected that the company, which is the entity, a taxable person, expected to collect the money from the consumers on behalf of government. So when we talk about PAYE, we are referring to pay as you earn, and withholding, referring to withholding from third parties for goods and services supplied. Thank you.
So please, let's just take it back. So for CIT and PIT, can you please explain to us what those are?
Okay. CIT is a corporate income tax. Corporate income tax in the sense that if you register your business, you may register it as a corporate entity, artificial person, distinguished from you, the managing director. So you, the company, Mr. AB Company Limited, it is an entity. The tax that you pay at the end of the year when profit is made is 25%. The managing director, because the company cannot speak, the managing director speaks on behalf of the company to ensure that the company achieves profit. So the managing director receives salary. So the salary that is paid to the managing director, pay as you earn, is supposed to be deducted. If you are an enterprise, an SME, you are supposed, or a one-man business, you are supposed to register as a personal, self-employed person. And the tax you paid is personal income tax. So when you talk about CIT, you talk about PIT, these are the explanation that we can give to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fogo. So if I understand, I'm just going to try and summarize what you just shared. So it means that CIT, which is the corporate income tax, is the tax that a limited liability or a company pays to GRA at the end of the year, if I'm right.
Correct, you are right. 25%.
And then PIT, 25% of your profit. Please, 25% of what? Profit. Of your profit, annual profit.
Yes.
Okay, and then for PIT, that is the personal income tax, which is for one-man business or sole proprietor. And that is also paid at the end of the year, if I'm right.
Yes, that is right.
Okay, so I just want to ask a quick one. So, because it's a personal income tax, so we are going to go into the one-man business aspect. How is that? How is this income tax? How do we come up with it? Because for the CIT, obviously it is on your annual profit at the end of the year. But how do we treat this for the PIT? For those who have a one-man business?
Okay, thank you very much. The law expects every business owner at the end of the year to file a tax return. The tax return is a declaration that you make to Commissioner General at the end of the year, indicating your income, your expenses, and any other information that you want the Commissioner General to know. Now, before the year ends, the Commissioner General estimates an amount of tax for every business owner, or the Commissioner General asks you to estimate an amount of tax based on the profit you intend making at the end of the year. Based on that estimation, you are expected to pay taxes on quarterly basis. So every 3 months, you pay tax on the estimate that you have made to the Commissioner General. So you estimate your tax, then you pay divided by 4, you pay quarterly. Or the Commissioner General estimates a tax for you at the end of, so that at the end of the year, you have 4 months after the end of the year to file a return so that we can know the act. If you overpaid, we make a refund to you. Basically, this is how we estimate liability for self-employed persons or corporate entities. Thank you.
Mr. Thank you too. Are they tax?
Hello, can you hear me?
For young in the industry, entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much. There are tax reliefs available. Hear you. So the entrepreneurs are individuals who are 35 years and below. So if you are beyond 35 years, the law doesn't see you as a young entrepreneur. But if you are 35 years and below, the law sees you as a young entrepreneur. And these are the reliefs that is made available to you. The first 5 years that you are in business, you don't pay any tax. You are exempted from paying taxes for the first 5 years. Number 2, if you incur any losses and you are in the priority sector, which is manufacturing, ICT, tourism, creative industry, you are supposed to carry forward the losses for 5 years. You don't pay tax for 5 years, and any loss you make, you carry it forward for 5 years. Then, in the order in which they occur. Then number 3, if you are a young entrepreneur and you are married, you are entitled to a marriage relief of 1,200 Ghana cedis. If you have a child or 3 children attending school in Ghana, you have what you call child education relief, 600 Ghana cedis for a maximum of 3 children. If you are a young entrepreneur and you have your father and your mother depending on you, you have a relief of 1,000 Ghana cedis per father or mother for the end of the year. Then again, if, the other relief is old age relief. But as a young entrepreneur, since you are 35, you don't qualify for the old age relief. But for purpose of education, old age relief is granted to persons who are 60 years and above and are in business and have filed tax returns. Thank you.
So, Mr. Kobo, how do we access these? Because for some of us, we're now hearing these. We want to know, how do we access some of these reliefs, as businesses?
Okay, thank you very much. Like we mentioned earlier, we have 57 taxpayer service centers across the country. So you go to any of the offices, then you request for a tax relief application form. It is a form that is available and they will give to you. and you use that, you fill that form and submit it there. Then they will grant you those reliefs. But the reliefs are granted when you file a tax return at the end of the year. But there are some reliefs which are upfront relief. So if you're an employee, you enjoy that relief before your taxes are calculated on the salary that you receive. Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Kogo, if I understand, there are tax reliefs for young entrepreneurs. I'm just trying to summarize it. And we can walk to any taxpayer service point or any GRA office, request for the tax relief form, we complete it, and then we submit it to GRA.
Correct.
So I also understand that before these reliefs are granted, it means that the business should have paid some form of tax. Is that correct?
Correct. The business must register, file a return, and pay taxes.
So if it's a sole proprietor, for example, and you register with GRA and you haven't started any operations, how do you still go ahead to get these tax relief? But let's say you just registered your business. Okay, is it possible?
Thank you very much. If you have not started a business, or you have registered with Registrar General, but you have not registered with GRA, so in the records of GRA, GRA doesn't know you. So GRA cannot grant you the tax relief unless you are employed by somebody and you are doing your personal business in addition to the employment business. Then that is where the employer will recognize your employment income and grant a relief to you.
So does it mean that once you register your business, you must register with GRA as well? Is it immediate, even if you haven't started operations?
Yes, because the law says that you will not operate a business without registering with the Ghana Revenue Authority. So it is mandatory. Immediately you register with the Registrar General, the next point of call is your taxpayer service center closer to you to register over there, and a tax will be estimated for you. But if you have not started a business, you write to the GRA that you haven't started a business, but putting structures in place, because they will go around and monitor to see whether you are doing business or not. Thank you.
Okay, so if I'm right, so just so that we can get this right, it means that we can still register a business. However, if we haven't started operation, we need to write to GRA to inform them that we have registered, but we haven't started operations.
That is correct.
How about businesses that have already registered? They may have not operated, because we still have some, businesses where they have registered for about a year or two. They haven't done any operations. However, they still haven't even written a letter to GRA. Is there a way around, a situation like this?
Okay, so thank you very much. The intention for registering the business is to start the business. If you haven't started the business, it is appropriate and right to inform GRA, because if you start the business without the knowledge of GRA, it implies you are attempting to evade tax. Tax evasion is criminal offense. So you need to inform GRA that you have registered your business, but you have not started operation. Therefore, they should, be aware. Anytime you start your operations, you might notify them, because it might reach a point where you need a tax clearance certificate. And if you should go to them, they will ask you the year in which you registered your business. So if that date is stated, they will ask you, what have you been depending on as income for a living up to this time before coming to us for the tax clearance certificate? So that if it is established that you earned income in the previous year before coming to us now in 2022, we will compute the taxes for you as far back as the 2020 and make you pay the taxes for 2021, 2022 before the tax clearance certificate is issued to you. Thank you.
So please, are there any waivers or exemptions provided the person is able to show supporting document that I registered my business maybe in 2019, but I didn't operate, I didn't have a bank account? Is there something like that that can at least sort of save, this business without having to pay so much money from the inception of the business?
Okay, thank you very much. The law is clear about exemptions. The exemptions are given to persons who are in certain category of business. For example, if you are in tree production, the law says that for the 10 years that you start harvesting, you don't pay tax. If you are in cattle rearing, for 10 years, you don't pay tax. If you are in poultry, for the next 5 years that you commence your business, you don't pay tax. If you are into a palm plantation, it's also for the next 10 years, you don't pay tax. But if you are into cash crop production, like maize, cassava, etc., then it means that for 5 years, you don't pay tax. So these are the category of businesses that the law makes exemptions available to. So that if you are not in that category, then you don't qualify for such exemptions. But if you come to VAT, value added tax, there are certain goods and services that you consume that the law says VAT should not be charged on those goods. And that is clear in the law. So if you consume those goods, you don't pay VAT on it. For example, buying medical and pharmaceutical products, you don't pay VAT on those items. Petroleum products, you don't pay VAT on those products. Raw meat, consumed, produced locally, you don't pay VAT on those products. Exercise books, education materials, you don't pay VAT on these materials. They are exempt items, and you don't pay VAT on them. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kogo. So thank you very much to our panelists for sharing these insightful information. We're quickly going to some questions that we can get some answers for them. So I will start with Mr. Kogo so that we move on to the subsequent ones. So Mr. Kogo, this question is from Ohima Enima Amartin from Lucien. She wants to know, how do we avoid tax penalties?
How do we do what? Hello, can I hear the question again? If I had a question, is it how do we avoid tax
penalties?
Okay, how do we avoid tax penalty? To avoid tax penalty is to comply with the tax law.
Yes.
And by compliance, it means that you must register your business immediately. You register with Registered General Company, and also to file your tax returns at the GRA offices on due. If you don't file your tax return plus 10 times the return is in default. The return can be a monthly return or an annual return. So if you want to avoid penalty, yours is to comply, file your tax returns on taxes on due date, and when you do this, you avoid payment of penalties and interest. Thank you.
Okay, so the one is from Gloria Agbadi. She wants to know I would like to know about startup taxes. So she wants to know what taxes are associated with running a startup or for a new business.
Thank you very much. For a new business, you can register as a self-employed person or as a limited liability company. So a new business, if your age is below 35 years, you are classified as a young entrepreneur. And for the first 5 years that you start your business, you don't pay any tax to the Republic of Ghana. But if you should employ some people to assist you to do some work and you pay salaries to them, the law expects you to withhold PAYE and pay to the Commissioner General on or before the 15th of the following month. So for startup, for the first 5 years as a young entrepreneur, you register with GRA, but you don't pay any taxes. But you must file a tax return to the GRA. Thank you.
Okay, we also have a question from Kelvin. He's asking, are there exemptions for the tax relief? Is it just for PIT?
Okay, for the exemption, PIT, personal income tax, individual, self-employed person. But for companies, they also have an allowable deductions. For example, if you incur an expense that is wholly, exclusively, and necessarily incurred in the production of the income, the law allows you to deduct those expenses before determining the profit that you have made for tax to be applied. For example, if you expenses by borrowing some money, the law allows you to deduct that interest on the money that you have borrowed to start the business before determining your profit. If you rent a premises, the rental income is an allowable deduction before determining your profit. If you make advertisement, it is also an allowable deduction. So these are expenses that are allowable deduction for corporate entities before determining the tax. If they deduct all these expenses and there is no income left, then you don't pay any tax. That is how the exemption or the reliefs or allowable deductions are done. Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Akoko, one last question for the sake of time. So for audience, those of us sending in our questions, just in case your question isn't answered, we're still going to answer them back to you. So please stay tuned on our Instagram and our Twitter, all our social media platforms next week, where we'll be sharing all the answers from our participants. So Mr. Akoko, one last question from Nana Boafo of CAP, asking young entrepreneurs exemption. If the company has multiple owners and some are over 35 and the others are under 35, will the business still qualify for the exemption?
The business qualifies for exemption when you are a young entrepreneur. The young entrepreneur category of age is 35 years. So anyone below the age of 35 years can come under the cover of young entrepreneur, and that person can enjoy the exemptions. But if you are above 35 years, you are not a young entrepreneur per the law.
Okay. So, okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Akoko. The next question goes to SNIT. So, Ms. Na, I hope you are on. This question is from Hopeful Nkomo. They are asking, for a non-profit organization that is sustained through grants and donations with no employees, do the directors have to register with SNIT?
Thank you very much, Hopeful, for the question. So, once you register a business, and for the directors, if they are working, like you're saying, you don't have employees, but the directors, are they working? Like that from the beginning, and contribution to social security. So directors, their choice. You get it. One for the directors, we don't we only advise them So if you are an NGO, once you have employees listed on behalf, via the Registrar General's Department, on your own behalf. You got it.
Yes, this comes from Johan of AHIT. So the question is, if an employee had a different so I was told we did 1 and tier 2 are, sort of working together. So Johan is asking if an employee had a different trustee for tier 2 payments with their former employer, and their current employer is working with a different trustee, do they need to migrate their account balance? And what happens if the former trustee does not cooperate with the migration?
Okay, can I take that?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. Yes, so you are not mandated to transfer your funds, but the law actually allows for portability of funds. Pensions Act of 2008 at 766, section 100, it talks about portability. And so as an employee, if you move to a new company and they are remitting their tier 2 to a different trustee, you can opt to transfer your funds from your previous trustee to your new company's trustee. But then again, you can still leave it with the previous trustee whilst your new organization begins another one with their trustee. And so you are not mandated to transfer it from your previous trustee to the new trustee once you join a different company. But sometimes for you to be able to monitor one account, it's advisable that you move it to the new trustee so you can monitor all your contributions under one trustee.
Okay, so we have one more question, but I think this is going to go to Mr. Akogo, and then we'll wrap it up for today's session. So we have one last question from Amanda Akushi. So she's saying that I asked about startup 35 years and below, not paying tax at GRA or SU. And I was told it's not for all startups, but for some selected startup industries. Can you please clarify this, as I am a bit confused? Thank you. So this is from Amanda. Mr. Akogo, if you can please answer this for us. Hello, Mr. Akogo. Okay, so unfortunately, Mr. Akogo has had to leave into a quick meeting. So what we're going to do is we've noted all the questions down. We're going to ensure that our panelists answer all of them for us, and then we can share on our platforms beginning on Monday. On behalf of the CLAY team, we'd like to say thank you very much, especially to our panelists for making the time to engage in this session. We also want to apologize for the feedback we were receiving and a few, hitches here and there. But we also believe that we've been able to have a very insightful conversation this morning. Thank you so much to Mr. Akogo of GRA. Thank you to Brigadier of SNIT. And thank you so much, Evelyn of Petra Trust, for joining us. For the rest of our audience, we want to say thank you so much for making the time to join us. We look forward to having another session like this. Please do well to follow our social media handles at the CLAY Consult, both on Instagram and on Twitter. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, as we'll be sharing answers to all our questions within the next week. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a happy weekend. We are very grateful for you participating. Thank you.